Today, we are diving into the absolute foundation of all life as we know it, DNA. It's this tiny, elegant code that holds the instruction manual for literally everything, from a single bacterium to a giant blue whale. Okay, let's get into this amazing molecular world. So to kick things off, let's just try to get a sense of the scale here. If you could take all the DNA from just one of your cells and stretch it out end to end, it would be over 2 meters long. Yeah, that's probably taller than you are. And all of that is packed into a nucleus that's just a few millionths of a meter wide. It's an absolutely incredible feat of engineering.
So you gotta wonder, right? How does this incredibly long molecule organize itself and function so perfectly? How does it follow its own set of rules to create all the beautiful complexity we see in life? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unpack.
Our journey really begins with a set of simple, yet totally profound principles. You can think of them as the golden rules of the code. They were discovered by the biochemist Erwin Chargaff, and they completely changed how we think about DNA. And what Chargaff found is just beautiful in its simplicity. He realized that no matter what species he looked at, the amount of the base A was always the same as the amount of T, and the amount of G was always equal to C. This AT and GC pairing is the non-negotiable rule that lets the two strands of DNA zip together just perfectly. So let's put this into practice. Think of it like a little puzzle. If we know that a DNA sample is 22% adenine, can we use Chargaff's rules to figure out the percentage of cytosine? Take a second, see if you can work it out. Okay, here's how you do it. If adenine is 22%, then its partner, thymine, has to be 22% too, right? So together, A and T make up 44% of the DNA. The rest of it, which is 56%, has to be made of guanine and cytosine. And since they have to be equal, we just split that 56% in half, which gives us 28% for cytosine. See? Simple. So these pairing rules are the how. They explain how DNA zips together chemically. But what does the molecule actually look like? Well, these rules build the iconic structure we all recognize, the double helix, specifically its most common form, which we call bDNA. This blurry X-ray picture, famously called Photo 51, might not look like much, but honestly, it changed everything. This pattern, created by the brilliant Rosalind Franklin, was the crucial clue that told James Watson and Francis Crick that DNA had to be a helix. That distinctive X shape in the middle, that was the dead giveaway that unlocked the secret of its structure. So, what does this bDNA structure look like up close? Well, for starters, it's a right-handed helix. That means it twists to the right just like a standard corkscrew. It has a perfectly uniform width of 20 angstroms. That's a super tiny unit of measurement. And if you follow one full 360-degree turn of the spiral, you'll count about 10.5 base pairs, and that complete twist measures 34 angstroms tall. It's this precise, repeating geometry that makes it such a stable way to store information. But here's where things get even more interesting. bDNA might be the superstar, the most common form, but it's not the only shape in town. DNA is actually a very dynamic molecule, and under different conditions, it can twist itself into other shapes. And this isn't just for show. These different shapes can play a real role in how our cells read the genetic instructions. And here they are, the main players. You can see the three primary forms side by side, A form, our familiar B form in the middle, and the quirky Z form. Just looking at them, you can see the differences right away, can't you? They have different widths, and they're coiled up differently. Let's break this down. So A form and B form are both right-handed helices, but the A form is a little shorter and broader. But the real standout, the rebel of the group, is Z form. It's a left-handed helix, which is pretty unusual. It's also slimmer and more stretched out, with a kind of zigzagging backbone, which is exactly where it gets the Z in its name. So what causes these wildly different shapes? Well, a huge part of it comes down to something called sugar pucker. Imagine the 5-sided sugar ring that helps make up the DNA backbone. It's not perfectly flat. One of the carbon atoms sort of bends or puckers out of the flat plane. And believe it or not, which carbon atom does the puckering actually determines the overall geometry of the helix, forcing it into that A, B, or Z shape. Okay, now that we get the structure, let's talk about what holds this beautiful molecule together, and just as important, what can make it come apart. This whole dynamic of stability and instability is essential for how DNA actually works inside our cells. So, three main forces are at play here. First, we've got hydrogen bonds between the base pairs. Those are the rungs of our DNA ladder. Now, here's a key detail.
GC pairs are held together by 3 of these bonds, while AT pairs only have 2. That makes the GC connection stronger. Second, the flat bases literally stack on top of each other, and that creates stabilizing forces. And finally, you've got positive ions floating around in the cell that help neutralize the negative charges on DNA's backbone, which keeps it from pushing itself apart.
Because of all these forces holding it together, it takes energy, usually heat, to pull the 2 strands of DNA apart. And we can actually measure this. It's called the melting temperature, or TM. It's the exact temperature where half of the DNA in a solution has melted into single strands. And it makes perfect sense, right? A DNA molecule with more of those strong triple-bonded GC pairs is going to have a higher melting temperature. This is a super important concept for all sorts of lab techniques.
Now, the really cool thing is that this process is reversible. You can heat DNA to unzip the strands. That's denaturation. But if you cool it down again slowly, the complementary strands will find each other in the soup and zip right back up. We call that renaturation. This ability to unzip and rezip is fundamental to how life works, from copying DNA before a cell divides to reading a gene to make a protein.
Scientists can even measure how fast DNA rezips to learn about a genome's complexity. This is called the COT value. Think about it like solving 2 different jigsaw puzzles. A genome with lots of repetitive sequences is like a puzzle of a big blue sky. The pieces are all pretty much the same, so they find their partners really fast. A more complex genome, on the other hand, is like a puzzle where every single piece is unique. It takes much longer to find the right match, so a faster rezipping time, a lower COT value, tells scientists the genome's puzzle is less complex and has more repetitive parts.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, from base pairing rules to the different shapes and stability of DNA. So let's do a quick check-in to see how these concepts are landing.
All right, here's the question. In a double-stranded DNA molecule, the percentage of cytosine, or C, was found to be 20%. So what is the expected percentage of adenine, or A? I'll give you a moment to apply those Chargaff's rules and figure it out.
And the correct answer is number 2, 30%. If C is 20%, its partner G must also be 20%. That's 40% of the molecule right there. The remaining 60% has to be A and T. And since they have to be equal, you just divide 60 by 2, which gives you 30% for adenine. Excellent.
All right, let's wrap this up by quickly running through the key takeaways from our deep dive into the blueprint of life.
So, to recap, it all starts with those simple but powerful base pairing rules, A with T and G with C. No exceptions. These rules build that classic B-form double helix, but always remember that DNA is a flexible, dynamic molecule that can take on other shapes. And finally, the forces holding it all together can be overcome and then put back together again, a process that's absolutely essential for DNA to do its job.
And I'll just leave you with this final thought. Everything that you are, every single instruction for building a complex living being is written in a simple 4-letter code, A, T, C, and G. When you really stop and think about that, what does it tell you about the incredible power and elegance of simplicity in nature? Thanks for joining us.